and she doesn't know about the raft because she's BFFs with Tony Stark. Hey geeks, welcome to my channel. I'm Trey Guillotine and you're watching Daily Marvels, where I've gathered some of the Marvel news from the past week and put it in one place just for you. Thanos and Thor will have the most screen time in Avengers Infinity War. Avengers who kind of take the back seat in Infinity War will be featured more prominently in Avengers 4, and the Defenders could have been in Avengers Infinity War. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it around so others can join in the conversation. There's been lots of talk about Thanos as we get closer to Avengers Infinity War, and Joe Russo actually described Avengers Infinity War as Thanos' movie, that this movie is told more or less from the perspective of the villain, of Thanos, and that because of this, Thanos will have the lion's share of screen time for the film. He also says that Thor is going to have an interesting story arc happening in Avengers Infinity War, so he's going to have the second most amount of screen time. We've heard so much about Thanos at this point that we're getting a little more familiar with his character and with his motivations and what's going on behind Thanos as we get to know him. But what we haven't seen a lot of in the trailers is Thor. We haven't heard a lot about Thor. We haven't seen a lot of Thor. We've seen him meet the Avengers. We've seen him like when Thanos is like crushing his head. We see him doing this lightning thing and doing something. No idea what Thor is doing. What we haven't seen is Thor with any of the other Avengers. We don't see Thor with Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. We see Thor briefly with the Guardians. We don't see Thor in Wakanda with Captain America and Black Panther. So I have the feeling that Thor is kind of going to be on his own thing, kind of doing his own thing for the Infinity War that's still connected, but more or less on his own, or with other characters that we haven't seen a lot of yet. So my big question is, what is Thor doing? Some speculation is that he is actually on this mission to get a new weapon to replace Mjolnir, and that's how he's going to get the Stormbreaker, which is that kind of axe that I talked about a few videos ago. But I mean, I can't even sit here and speculate and wonder what is going on, because I feel like from just the end of Thor Ragnarok, his story arc was leading the Asgardians, but that doesn't look like that's gonna be what he's doing. So I really can't imagine. Maybe fans are right. Maybe that's what Thor is doing, is that he is going off on his own to get the ultimate weapon, Stormbreaker, to bring against Thanos at the end of Infinity War, or what he's going to be doing is setting something up for Avengers 4, because just like Chris Evans, we know that Chris Hemsworth's contract will end at Avengers 4, and that we won't see Chris Hemsworth as Thor again unless they come up with a really great script, and a really great script, which is basically the stipulation that he said that he's done playing Thor unless they come up with a really good script and he comes back for it, which is entirely possible. But as of now, Avengers 4, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers 4 will be the end of both Chris Evans as Captain America and Chris Hemsworth as Thor. So I'm guessing it's a likely possibility that whatever Thor is doing in Avengers Infinity War will be something to set up for Avengers 4. Joe Russo also wanted to assure fans that if you don't see a lot of your favorite Avengers in Avengers Infinity War, you're going to see those Avengers more in Avengers 4. That the Avengers who kind of take a back seat in Avengers Infinity War will be more prominently featured in the next Avengers film. And they say this because originally they were going to be doing Avengers Infinity War as a two-part movie. It was going to be Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Avengers Infinity War Part 2. That was the original plan, but as they got into the production, they decided to change that. And now Avengers 4 will be a sequel to Avengers Infinity War, the same way that Captain America Civil War is a sequel to Captain America Winter Soldier. So while Avengers 4 will still be kind of connected to Avengers Infinity War, just like all of the movies are kind of connected to each other, it's not going to be a direct follow-up of the events of Avengers Infinity War, which again leads me to just wonder, what is Avengers 4 going to be about? Because we've seen a post-Avengers and a post-Avengers Infinity War in MCU with the brief trailer for Ant-Man. We've seen how the world looks after Avengers Infinity War, and it looks okay. It doesn't look like Thanos is ruling. It doesn't look like half the life of Earth has been wiped out. It looks okay in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we've already seen how the MCU is going to look after Avengers Infinity War, so I'm just curious about what is Avengers 4 going to be about. And a lot of fans have already stated that, you know, some of their favorite Avengers are missing from Avengers Infinity War from the poster and from the trailers. They haven't seen Ant-Man or the Wasp in it. They haven't seen Hawkeye, which a lot of people have talked about why they haven't seen Hawkeye, even going so far as to make so many memes about it and even Photoshop the Infinity War poster with just Hawkeye, which I actually thought was really funny. I mean, I would love to see Hawkeye and Ant-Man in Infinity War, but I'm also kind of looking forward to Avengers 4, which will actually, since we're seeing so much of, you know, the original Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor in Avengers Infinity War, I'm looking forward to seeing kind of a newer roster of Avengers like Hawkeye, like Ant-Man, like any of the other Avengers and characters who aren't going to be featured as much in Avengers Infinity War. I'm looking forward to that semi-new roster of heroes for Avengers 4. And finally, the Russo brothers talked about how they were considering bringing in the Defenders into Avengers Infinity War, but the problem came down not to story or, you know, connecting them, but just problems from the production side. That they already said that it is such a huge effort collaborating with all of the directors of the Marvel MCU films, that bringing in all the showrunners and actors and everyone from Netflix into the Defenders series into Avengers Infinity War would have just been too much. I'm actually totally okay with this. I don't think that the Defenders need to be involved with the Avengers yet. I don't think that their adventures or the heroes in the Defenders need to meet up with the Defenders, with the Avengers. I think Netflix has hit the perfect middle ground of staying connected with the MCU while kind of being its own entity. And this is shown, and they show this really well in the most recent season of Jessica Jones. They actually talk about the Raft, and Jessica Jones talks about the Raft, and she doesn't know about the Raft because she's BFFs with Tony Stark. She knows about the Raft because she saw it on the news, just like everyone else. The Raft is a known thing. They apparently talked about it on the news or in an article or something talking about this superhero-powered prison for enhanced individuals, that people know that it exists. That's how Jessica Jones knows about it, because it was in the news. And that's, I think, the best way they can stay connected and stay relevant to the MCU, just like in the first season of Daredevil and in some of the first seasons of the other Defenders series. They talk about the incident, or I think it was called the incident or the catastrophe. They called it something, and it was referring to the Battle of New York. It was referring to the Chitauri and Loki invasion into New York. So I'm perfectly okay with the Defenders not joining up with the Avengers, at least at this point. I don't think it's something that needs to happen, as much as I would love to see that. Personally, I would rather see more crossovers from the movies in the Netflix series than seeing the Defenders in Avengers. I would love to see Spider-Man working with the Defenders, going against Wilson Fisk. What I would also love to see, and this is actually something specific to Avengers Infinity War and how it's going to affect the Defenders, because we know part of the conflict in Infinity War takes place, at least for a little bit, in New York City. And I would love to see the effects of that conflict and whatever it is that happens, how the Defenders dealt with that, if they dealt with that. The next Netflix series that's going to be coming after Avengers Infinity War will be Luke Cage Season 2, and that's coming out in June. So I would love to hear about if Luke Cage was on the streets fighting Thanos' minions, or helping people from destroyed rubble, or doing whatever it is he could do to help people during that conflict in New York that we see in Avengers Infinity War. What do you think of these daily Marvels? Let me know in the comments and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join the conversation. If you want to check out my written reviews of Marvel TV shows and movies, go to www.treyguillotine.com. And if you want to be featured in any of my What You Gaming On videos, Make sure to email me at whatyougamingon@gmail.com whatever game you're playing and what you like about it, and it will be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On. And subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching and have fun.